Long time no see. It's been ages since I've sat down to make a video, so I hope you're all doing okay. Today's video is a very long awaited one. If you don't already know, I was born with a bilateral cleft lip and palate, which meant I've had a lot of operations throughout my life to treat this, and my final cleft surgery was done back in September last year, so nearly a year ago now, which I can't believe. And today I thought I'd do a Q&A about that surgery because it's something that I think a lot of people with a cleft have to go through, so I've pretty much documented my journey with it, which I'll leave the playlist in a link in the description so that you can go and check that out. I know before I had this operation I had lots of questions, and I've asked you guys as well over on Instagram and here on YouTube if you had any questions, and I did get some, so that's why I thought I would do a little Q&A for you. If you have any more that I don't answer in this video, then do feel free to put them in the comments below. I'll probably start with some of the questions that I had before I had this operation done, because they're probably things that go through a lot of people's minds. A good place to start would probably be what actually happens in the surgery, like what does the surgeon actually do? And this is something that will depend on your case. Everyone's case is different, especially if you have a cleft. And I guess it also depends on your reasoning for having the surgery as well, because some people just have the septoplasty, some people have a septorhinoplasty, others like me have a septoplasty with turbinate reduction. So there's kind of a lot of different ways. I'm going off of my experience here, but it depends on the reasoning for your operation. And for me, I just wanted to be able to breathe better. I know some people sort of have cosmetic changes done at this point as well, but I wasn't really bothered about my appearance. I wanted to keep it the same, so my procedure was done to sort of help me breathe better, really. So the surgeon basically, in my case at least, adjusted my septum, which is this bit here, and I think mine was deviating more to the left, so he sort of brought it to the right a little bit. And then, like I say, these I had a turbinate reduction, which is basically these little things on the side of your nose that everybody has. Sometimes they can become enlarged, or in my case, you know, my nasal airway was very narrow because of my cleft, so I had sort of my turbinates reduced and a bit of like old scar tissue sort of tidied up a bit because that had probably been like causing an obstruction to my airway. But that's something that I would definitely recommend talking to your surgeon about if you're having this operation, just so that you know what to expect, if you know, for your specific case, I guess. Another question that I personally had before I had this operation was, will my appearance change? Like, do I have to change my appearance to have this operation? Because like I said, some people can and do, if that's what they want, but I personally didn't want that. And I had a long conversation with my surgeon about the things that I wanted to really get from this. Long story short, with a septoplasty, it will sort of depend what exactly your surgeon has to do, but you don't have to have cosmetic changes done. Some of these questions might overlap, I guess, but another thing I wanted to know before I had this surgery was, what is the recovery length like? Again, it will depend what exactly you've had done, if you've had more or less done than me, but personally, the sort of take it easy kind of time, and like where you're having to do all your aftercare and that kind of thing, for me was about 2 weeks. So I had splints in my nose for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks after my operation I went back to the hospital to get those removed, and that's when you can kind of start like getting back to normal, I guess, and like reduce your aftercare. Unfortunately, I did get an infection, so I had to continue with my aftercare a little bit longer and have antibiotics and things like that. So of course, recovery length might change if anything like that happens, like any complications or anything, but I would say the general sort of recovery was about 2 weeks for me. And then I guess leading on from that, what is the aftercare like? You may have to wear a bit of gauze under your nose. For the first few days, my nose bled for, I want to say, like 3 or 4 days, which is normal. And obviously this sort of does need changing a few times a day, sort of when it bleeds through. I cleaned my nose with a saline rinse. So I was given this by the hospital before I left, and I did this, I think, 3 or 4 times a day. Don't stick anything up your nose. As tempting as it may be, don't. The only thing you should be putting up there is the saline rinse. But now going on to some of the questions I got on YouTube. How did my recovery compare with what I was anticipating? For some reason, I don't know if I just really had realistic expectations of that. In terms of pain, I expected what I got. It wasn't massively painful, it was more like pressure up in my head. I guess the things that I didn't really expect was that I wasn't allowed to eat hot food or take hot baths for the first week, I think it was, because this is just not very safe with like the bleeding and everything like that. So I couldn't have hot drinks, hot food, hot baths or showers for the first week. Luckily it was really hot the first week of September last year, so that wasn't really a problem. I also preferred like soft foods as well, because even though the surgery isn't with your mouth, the kind of top part of my jaw was a bit sore for like the first week or so. So I actually preferred like cold foods and things like that, like ice cream, chocolate mousse, nice soft things that I didn't really have to put effort in to chew. Sleeping as well is something that I didn't really expect. So you're not meant to lay flat when you've had a septoplasty. You're supposed to sort of sit up if you can. So I didn't really get the best night's sleep for the first few nights, but it was a little bit uncomfortable trying to get used to sleeping like that. I did eventually though. Again, maybe I just went into this a bit naive and had unrealistic expectations, but it did take me a little bit longer to recover than I thought as well. I, for some reason, thought I would sort of just feel a bit off for a few days, but then just generally be up and about doing things. But I was like really tired. And I don't think it helped obviously towards the end that I got an infection. I guess this sort of ties into the next part of this person's question, which was how long before I noticed an improvement in my breathing, because like I said, that's why I had this surgery, to help me sort of breathe. For the first 2 weeks, you can't breathe at all. So there's swelling, the splints are in, blood, stitches, all of that lovely stuff. So for the first 2 weeks, I couldn't breathe at all throughout my nose, and then when I got the splints removed, I was surprised how quickly I could actually breathe. But I think, again, because of my infection, I still had swelling and things like that. So by the time that all went down, I'd say after the first month, I could actually breathe through my nose again, but it wasn't the full effects, I would say. So I was actually told not to expect to see the full effects of my breathing for, I think, 3 months. Which I would say was about right actually. By the end of the second month, I had some days where I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the best thing ever. Like I could actually get a load of air in. And then like I'd still have to kind of like rinse it sometimes, and it needed a bit of help clearing out a little bit. But then by that third month, it was like absolutely amazing. Obviously with this operation, it's not like a 100% chance that you're going to be able to breathe better. And I don't know if there's still kind of a little bit of difficulty on one side, but I was told pretty much at my last appointment that I'm as good as I'm going to get now. So yeah, I'd say it took about 3 months to get to the point that I'm at now, and I'm now nearly a year post-op. The next question is, what were the most useful things you did or used post-op, and is there anything in particular you'd recommend for getting through recovery? So I actually really want to make a full video about this actually, because I feel like there's so many tips and things that I found useful during this recovery that of course I want to share with you. But I guess the main things that come to mind right now, ice lollies. Oh my god, those were my life in that first, like, I was gonna say first week, but the first like probably month. I had so many ice lollies. Because it was really good, like I said, to have like cold foods and things that I could just sort of suck on and not really have to like chew, and I guess it was almost numbing in a way as well. So they were absolutely amazing. For sleeping, I have like this big like rectangular like pillow thing that sort of like boxes you in, and I sort of slept with that to kind of prop my pillows up. So I had that, my normal pillows, and then also like a neck pillow as well. This was really good for not sort of like rolling onto my face in the middle of the night, and it sort of kept me upright, and it was quite comfortable like on the journey home from the hospital. And then I'm pretty sure I slept with that neck pillow for like a good like month and a bit. Obviously Netflix, something to watch, something to do. I absolutely love to crochet, but I couldn't for at least like the first week and a bit, because it would have involved sort of like looking down, and it kind of like the pressure felt a bit weird in my head when I looked down, and obviously it kind of like induced the bleeding as well. So something you can just like sit and watch, or like maybe read if you can kind of like hold your book out here or something. Yeah, just something to occupy yourself with is very important. Maybe get people to come visit you as well. I had a lot of like family and friends come around and help me out and just keep me company and stuff. So that was really nice. When it comes to cleaning, so first of all, your teeth. I usually use an electric toothbrush, but the vibration of my electric toothbrush felt really weird for like the pressure in my head, and like I said, my top jaw was a bit sore, so I actually recommend getting a manual toothbrush just for the first like week or two of your recovery. And then when cleaning your nose, I had cotton buds and cotton pads, because obviously you got to make sure that you're using clean things rather than, you know, shoving your finger up your nose and things like that. But with that, I would just say obviously be careful where you are putting it. And I use sort of like a sterile solution thing, or like saline rinse or something, to kind of put on those cotton buds. But like I said, there's so much that I could sort of answer that question with, so I am hoping to make a video specifically about that. So first question I'm going to answer from Instagram is, did surgery affect my emotional health? I did actually make an Instagram reel about this, so if you don't follow me over on Instagram already, then here's my account if you would like to. But yes, surgery did affect my mental health in a few different ways really. I had a bit of anxiety like before the operation, which I guess is completely normal. The day of the operation I was actually fine. I'm pretty used to surgery really. I think the thing I was more nervous about that day was actually the fact that it was my first surgery in an adult hospital. In the end that was fine as well. I think because I've experienced surgery so many times, it's all really the same. And then during recovery, that first week I found pretty tough. I actually would say I found it more difficult mentally than physically. I think I actually said that in the video. I kind of panicked a little bit, thinking that I couldn't breathe, because obviously I was only being able to breathe out my mouth for the first couple of weeks. And I kind of just felt a bit stuck, because I knew that I would have to endure feeling rubbish for 2 weeks and not, you know, being able to eat what I want. My appetite was actually not very good, and I think, you know, food is really important for your energy levels and for your mental health actually. I couldn't really, you know, go out and do a whole lot. I didn't, you know, my family went out to a party one night and I couldn't go with them. I couldn't, you know, go out and meet my friends here, there and everywhere. Like, I think that kind of got to me a bit as well. I started my second year of uni at the start of September. Literally right after I got my splints removed, I went and moved into my second year accommodation, which I was a bit disappointed about. I felt a bit down because I wanted to just, you know, leave all my cleft treatment behind me when I went to uni. And yeah, I was still going through it. I was still having to take it easy, and I think it was more of just like a why me kind of thing at that moment. This is all something that I knew I could get through, as difficult as it was. I knew it was temporary, and it's completely normal to feel all these things. If you go through this and feel the same, it's completely normal. It is a big thing to go through, and just know that you're not alone if you do feel like that, and I'm always here. And just remember that it is temporary and you can get through it. This video is probably really long already because I like to ramble, but I'm just gonna answer one more question from Instagram, which was, did this surgery improve my quality of life? And yes, I am really happy to say that it did, even though, like I said, it's not always like a 100% chance that it will. And if it does, you know, improve it for a certain amount of time, it might not necessarily last, because with my surgery in particular, you know, I think the septum will probably be fine. It's more the turbinates that were sort of, you know, pushed back could sort of like collapse back down, I think, at some point. I don't really know. So it may not last, and, you know, I wouldn't say it's like 100%, you know, perfect breathing, but it's definitely a massive improvement. Before, I could get a little bit of air up this side, pretty much nothing up this side. I'd have to sleep with my mouth open, eat with my mouth open. I'd get loads of sore throats. I felt really self-conscious of the fact that I'd, you know, be walking around with my mouth open, sat just with my mouth open. And I think knowing that I can now actually, you know, sit through like a meeting or whatever it is with my mouth closed. Eating with my mouth closed, I've figured out, is still slightly difficult, mainly more because of my lip actually not stretching, but that's a whole other thing. But I can breathe when I eat, which is fantastic. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it's made such a massive difference. And although obviously this was a physical change for me, it has really like changed my mental health as well. Now I can walk outside and fill my lungs with fresh air, and it just feels absolutely amazing. So yes, eventually it was a massive benefit for my mental health, and just generally quality of life is now fantastic. So yeah, I guess that is a nice place to end this video. If you have any more questions at all, then do feel free to put them in the comments like I said, or find me over on Instagram and ask them on there. That's it for now really. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in a question. I really hope this video has helped you feel less alone and know what to expect if you have to go through this too. Good luck if that is you and you will be having this operation or something similar in the future. You can do it. I'm always here if you need anything. Remember, you're not alone. And yeah, I will see you all again very soon. Bye!